Welcome, 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 everybody. I'm Corey Three-Wing, and I'm here with my partner, Aubrey Cardone, and this is Creators Creating, our Wednesday tune-up call, which is our free gift to the world, where we've got people joining us from all over the place, Canada, all over the United States sometimes, and especially a lot of people right here in Utah, where we are at the moment. Today, we are going to be talking about universal flow and flow states, what it is to be in that magic moment of floating down the amazing river effortlessly in our thoughts, in our creations, in our imagination. And when we do that, it feels amazing. But before we get started, I want to open with our 4 agreements, like we always do. And these 4 agreements are our self-governance of how we are with one another. And this sets our container. And so this is the first thing that we do to step away from the world that we were in and into this container, this special place where we are together. I will read them each twice, once to hear them and the second time to feel them. And here they are. Personal material shared in our circle is for this circle. Personal material shared in our circle is for this circle. We listen to each other with curiosity and compassion, withholding judgment. We listen to each other with curiosity and compassion, withholding judgment. We ask for what we need, and we offer what we can. We ask for what we need, and we offer what we can. And from time to time, we will pause to regather our thoughts and focus. From time to time, we will pause to regather our thoughts and focus. And so with that, our circle is open. And one of the things I always love to do is to maybe find a little piece of art or beauty or a poem, just once again, to decorate the bridge from where we were to where we're going. And I found a quote from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who talking about flow state. And this quote goes like this: "Flow is a state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience is so enjoyable that people will continue to do it, even at great cost, for the sheer sake of doing it." So we're talking about flow today. And I'm going to pass the feather to Aubrey to lead us and guide us into a deep dig, but I wanted to do a little bit of introduction about universal flow. Flow is an automatic or effortless, yet highly focused state of consciousness, which results from stretching our abilities in the pursuit of a meaningful challenge. So some of the elements of a creative flow would include clear goals or creativity, a balance between challenges and skills, total absorption in that task, ridiculous amounts of joy and happiness, which creates a distorted sense of time. It's an absence of distractions and worry and self-consciousness. We go into flow state. Flow is distinguished from mere indulgence in pleasure, which is typically short-lived and unsatisfying. Instead, it is characterized as autotelic, an end in itself. As Noel Coward put it more pithily, work is more fun than fun, to which most writers would probably add sometimes. Noel Coward, one of my heroes. And so I want to just bring into, when we start jumping into flow states, this concept of outside in or inside out. When we work from outside the world coming in, or when we work from inside the world going out. The magic of creativity, imagination, and intuition are powerful guiding forces that initiate the freedom to step into timelessness and flow states. Embracing these forces opens the door to that deeper understanding of our true orientation in our life. What are we creating, and how are we creating it, and where are we creating it from? So these 2 orientations for living, self-consciously or superconsciously, we tend to grow into self-conscious. We tend to grow like from self-conscious into superconscious. Self-conscious living, becoming hyper-aware of the opinions of others and how we are seen in the judgments of the world. So let's just talk a little bit about that. Most people start in this self-conscious. We're very, very self-conscious. We spend most of our lives looking outside for answers, looking outside for almost everything. We seek energy and validation and emotions from others, prioritizing them above our own. This orientation reflects a, uh, a common human condition, maybe the wounding of the human journey, perhaps, where we exchange our power to get what we need or want, experiencing maybe individuation or that sense of duality outside of ourselves, inside of ourselves. In this state, flow states are more difficult to achieve because our focus is fragmented and our energy is consistently directed outward, making it hard to fully immerse ourselves in that freedom of flowing. Now, super conscious living. Okay, now, this is where we start looking inwardly more powerfully than looking out. And that's so much of the work that we're doing here. Superconscious is taking the high road and knowing yourself. It's about understanding that you can look within for the energy and emotions that you seek. Superconscious living involves calling energy into conscious focus, transforming energy into motion, or E-motion. Emotion, energy, motion. I love that little connection. It's all about emotion. It's about energy. Super consciously, we turn wounds into wisdom by reclaiming our power, choosing and activating our emotions. In here, we surrender our inner victim and embrace our outer creator. The orientation fosters a state of flow by aligning our inner energies to focus, allowing us to engage, pay attention, play, goof off, be free, imagine, create, and be intuitive. As William Whitecloud, one of my mentors, says, if you don't start, you're waiting for energy from the outside of yourself. So let's start. Let's begin. So transitioning from, or maybe into this universal flow, by shifting from a self-conscious to a superconscious orientation, we open ourselves to the universal flow. Universal flow is a seamless alignment with energies of the universe where our intentions and actions are in harmony with our highest purpose. It's about being in sync with the natural rhythms of life. It's about allowing abundance and creativity and joy to flow effortlessly into our existence. When we live superconsciously, we are not just passive recipients, but active co-creators of our reality, harnessing the universal energies to manifest our deepest desires. So here we are in this magic moment, everybody. You know, like this stepping into putting ourselves first, loving ourselves gigantically, loving self-love as the non-negotiable first priority, because that is not selfish. That is a necessity for who we are in this world, to give our gifts to the world in such a way. So let's stop right there for a hot second before I pass the feather to Aubrey. Any ahas or takeaways or questions about universal flow or self-conscious or super conscious living? Anybody have any offers or gifts or questions or insights? Anybody have anything to offer as we pause for a moment?
I would just say that that's really like in time, in the correct timing for everything that's been coming up for me, as well as like reminding humans that I know life is hard and things, but it's okay to play and explore and experience, and those like those permission slips to be human in other ways than just the seriousness of life right now.
Yeah, I love permission slip to be human. Anybody need one? I'm writing them right now. Anybody?
Blank check.
It's so good. It's so good. All right. Well, with that, Aubrey, I pass the feather to you. Thank you, my friend.
Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about the mechanics of universal flow, because this is just a thing that exists in the universe. In fact, it is the only constant in the universe. You'll hear what I teach a lot. I'm going to say it, you're going to hear it again. The change is the only constant in the universe. It's the only thing in the entire universe you can absolutely depend upon, is that change is going to continue. So when we look at change and kind of like what that means for us, we can kind of see it on a really base level in the elements of our planet. So the elementals in on our planet and that type of consciousness is deeply, deeply connected to the flow of the universal flow of the universe. And sometimes I imagine it as a river. It doesn't go just one way. It's a general just momentum and movement, but it never stops. And the way that we connect into it and the rhythm in which our heart beats with the flow determines a lot of how we experience just general existence. So I want everybody right now, we're going to do a little tiny bit of a meditation to kind of start connecting into flow, because one of the other ways that we can connect really deeply into flow is through breath. Our breath is deeply ingrained into the rhythm and momentum of the universe. So we're gonna do a 4-sided breath. That means we're gonna breathe in for 4 counts. We're gonna hold for 4 counts. We're gonna breathe out for 4 counts, and then we're gonna hold out for 4 counts. And we're gonna do that 4 times. All right. Okay, we're gonna go in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold. Last time. In, hold, out, hold. Now, when you notice your breathing and the cycles in your breathing, you'll notice that there's a different type of energy in every side of that breath. As you breathe in, you're bringing in energy into your being, and you find that you expand. And as you hold that expansion. And as you out, there's a giving back into the universe and a release, a process that happens. And as you hold it out, there's a stillness and an expansion of that moment as well. And when you bring these principles of breath, and then you look at the way that the rest of the universe moves in its own cycles, you'll find that they often correspond. Our breath cycles are often are very similar to our seasonal cycles. Our winter and our spring and our summer and our fall are all deeply interconnected into this universal flow pattern. So the more that you find yourself in your body and in that flow pattern, you'll find you have a lot more, I hate the word control, but a lot more ability to maneuver your own life, and a lot more power that remains inside of your own soul and your own body. So when we look at the elements, you'll find that, when I talk about the elements, I'm talking about water, fire, earth, and air. They keep each other in check in this very, very, very beautiful dance that just kind of like, as a water or creates canyon water from going in a dam changes course in the river. You'll find that you can look at that also in your own life, and momentum and the flow of the universe it's not linear. It goes like this, the big ball of wibbly wobbly energy.
Aubrey,
Yes.
we just had a little bit of a Zoom blur. Would you just say that last bit one more time?
Yeah. So you'll as you look at the elements on our planet, you'll notice that they interact with each other. It's not linear. It's a big ball of wibbly wobbly energy that interacts with each other and creates a universal balance. Mm-hmm. And this is true of all energy. It's true of our personal timelines. It's true of our identity. It's true, and it's kind of the components of our toroidal fields, which I'm going to talk about again, because they're the best things in the universe. I love toroidal fields, and having the information in order to kind of understand how to work with your own field is what helps you kind of look at yourself from a higher perspective and move your energy without being in the thick of it. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. And we're going to kind of just talk about some of the patterns that we see in universal patterns. So when I'm talking about toroidal fields, these are the shapes that I'm talking about. And you need to keep in mind that a toroidal field is not two-dimensional, it's not three-dimensional, it's not four-dimensional, it's not 12-dimensional. It is all dimensions. It exists throughout all dimensions of your soul. And so when we are thinking about it, you need to see it as constantly moving. A toroidal field is never stagnant. It is constantly flowing energy through your body. So sometimes we might get stuck on an emotion or an experience or a trauma that we had. And when that kind of blocks energy from flowing, that's what will kind of keep us in one place and unable to move continuously with universal flow. And so the more that aligned you get in your toroidal field and the more you become, the more you can manipulate and create your own reality. You are already manipulating and creating your own reality far more than you realize. I don't care if you already realize that it's a whole bunch. It's more than that. You are the creator that is creating this reality for yourself. And so as you move the energy through your body and move into your toroidal field and move into universal flow and allow that flow into your moments, you will become more. You become more. So I could go into a 2-hour class here about toroidal fields. I'm not going to because we don't have that type of time. But I did want to, for sure, show you guys another very important graphic and image that kind of illustrates what universal flow really looks like. So as we are learning and growing, we have a path, these pathways where we get to choose yes or no, and yes or no, yes or no, and that it begins to create a pattern. And that's the pattern that we see over and over and over again in nature. So this is a picture of mycelium, and you can see the pathways where energy has said yes, and you can see the dark pathways where energy has said no. This is a picture of dark matter in the universe. You can see where there's energy that we are interacting with here. And you can see where there's energy that we are not. These are neurons. These are neurons in your brain. There are pathways where energy has said yes, and there is pathways where our energy has said no. And all of these pathways in the universe create a multiversal parallel versions of every other choice you could possibly have made. And all of those experiences are then amalgamated into your toroidal field. And inside of that toroidal field is universal consciousness. It is the original creator who is creating everything, and it exists inside of you. Are there any questions about that? Let's pause here for a second. And I just want to see if there's any comments, any thoughts, questions.
Let's pass the feather around to everyone. What did you see? What did you notice? Even if it was just a short little power word or aha. Let's just have everybody chime in and say hello for a minute. Susie, what did you see? What touched you?
Well, I just experienced a little bit of universal flow, I guess, over the last few days, and it has to do with bubbles. I talk to my higher self and to my my fairies for guides, and I'm always asking, because I pull oracle cards, and I'm always asking what kind of message that I need to hear. And then when I pull the oracle card, then I ask, all right, so can you tell me or bring me an experience that I can relate to the card? And this particular oracle card brought me to Toronto to a bubble show, and that just really it just the way you were talking with intuition and universal flow and putting those two things together, and it was just absolutely amazing, because we're talking about the elements, and bubbles, you know, are very closely associated with water, and I believe, you know, they also hold memory. And at the show, I was just like a little kid in a candy store, and I could just feel the flow of the bubbles coming toward me. I just wanted to catch every single bubble. My kids were there, and I hope they weren't too embarrassed with their mom just having probably more fun than they were. But I just want to share that experience because that's what it reminded me of, and that's what I've been thinking about all week is bubbles and that the flow of the bubbles itself, the elementals, and the intuition experience that I had with that.
Oh, Susie, I love that so much. That makes me think of a memory when I'm working with I'm a kid magnet. Children love me. And when bubbles are around, I always like to grab them and put them in my ear, you know? Yeah, thank you, Susie. Danny, let's call you in. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. It's nice to take a break from everything that I've had going on and be present with you folks. I love it. I had a couple thoughts come up when we were doing the box breath and Aubrey was talking about, you know, giving versus receiving. And for a couple years now, I've really been trying to rewire that limiting belief that it's better to give than to receive. And it's interesting to me how much progress I've made with that psychologically and even in a felt sense, but I'm not seeing it fully manifest. And I realized in that moment that the place I haven't shifted that work is in my breathing. I'm constantly holding my breath on an exhale, and I have my entire life. So it's going to be interesting and fun to play with the vitality and receptivity that I enjoy, opening my breath back up to inhale and take in life fully and take in my receptivity fully. So I'm grateful for that aha and looking forward to working with that. And then the other thing I noticed in that last graphic that you showed, Aubrey, was it looks like the toroidal field either enters or begins at the second chakra. And I'm just curious if you can elaborate on that more. I find that interesting because being an alignment-based therapist, I've been constantly working with creating alignment in the body with gravity, and that's a very like vertical plane, XY axis. And its purpose is to stand you in your second chakra. And you know, Taoist chakra meditations say begin and end with the second chakra to maintain balance. So I'm just curious, it's all connected.
Yeah, it is. And actually I noticed that. So I mean, I've taught with this, with these graphics for quite some time. And I swear it used to enter in the heart. I don't know when that graphic shifted. I think I switched timelines probably for this question. Because I also noticed it while I was teaching. I was like, wait a second. And like the energy will enter our system depending on what energy and what it's doing. And a lot of what we're doing as a human collective right now is phasing into the resonance of Mother Earth. She's bringing in a lot of codes right now because what we are doing is ascending the human vessels. That's what we're doing here. We're bringing the human bodies into a higher point of ascension. And so, yeah, I also noticed that. And I also have questions because I swear it used to go in the heart. I promise.
Love that. Chris, let's pass the feather to you.
Thank you. I have to admit, I feel like such a new person with all of this, just barely starting to learn. So I'm the baby of the group. I feel like, and so when you say you have a 2-hour class on toroidal fields, sign me up. I want to learn about them. I just recently got back from a trip to Portland, Maine, where I was visiting my sister, and she doesn't have much longer on this planet with us. And so it was kind of a goodbye trip. So it was very bittersweet. And we had a beautiful day on Sunday on Saturday, where we were at the beach. You have to realize I was born in Oklahoma on the plains. I was raised in the deserts of New Mexico, and I live in the mountains of Utah. So beaches are not something that I'm real familiar with. I haven't spent a lot of time there, but I stood on this beach. It was pure rock, and I watched the waves. You can't go swimming in it. They crashed into the rocks. And I stood there as close as I could get to them, 10 feet away. And I just stood there and watched these waves come in, wave after wave after wave. And every one of them crashed and hit those rocks in a completely different way. And I got to thinking about that and realizing that however long that coastline has been there in Maine, for however thousands or hundreds of thousands of years, there were never two waves that hit the same way. They were always different. Just this infinite amount of shapes a wave can take. And I think that was my toroidal field that you're talking about, that I was aware of. And I love that because the flow that I felt from it is that it's like our lives. It just crashes and hits us, and it never really changes. It's always changed. It's always something different, and you can't be content with just one part of your life, because man, it is going to change in a hurry. And I just love the profoundness I felt as I stood there on that rocky beach that Saturday. It's going to stick with me for a long time. So that's kind of my thoughts right now.
I love that. Thank you, brother. Julie, let's pass the feather to you.
Okay, lots of things. Oh, I am not on mute. Okay, sorry. Lots of things. One, I'm excited to have verbiage and terminology for the things that I've been like seeing. I've never had those words before, so I'm excited about that. And also, we definitely did some massive timeline shifts in the last like week. It's been kind of crazy. Even like Spotify's not installed on my laptop, and it told me like that an app didn't exist. It was just weird. There was one more thing I was going to comment on. Oh, the mycelium. I loved seeing the picture of the mycelium. When we were at TDA on Sunday, we were all talking about our different projects and things that we were doing. And somebody that I was talking to basically said like the mycelium is activating and it's creating this like network. And I don't know, now seeing the visual of it too, just gave me this like even better like concept of what's happening right now. And it's really beautiful to see.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Julie. And to Gina. Hi, love.
Hi. Well, it's seeing the mycelium and the dark matter and all of that just really brings home how energy flows. And what Chris was saying about the ocean, I miss the ocean so much. I moved here to northern Arizona near Sedona about 20 years ago, but I used to live 6 blocks from the beach in Hermosa Beach in Los Angeles. And I would go at 2 or 3 in the morning. I'd walk down to the beach and stand in the water, and there wouldn't be any waves about it usually at that time. And it would just be this flow in and flow out. And I would as the water would flow out, I would just feel all my negative energies flowing out into the sea. And then as it came back in, I would feel all the positive, energies of the world around me coming in through my feet and filling my whole energy field. And every once in a while, I try to remember to connect with that energy. Boy, I wish I could do it now. But yeah, water's very powerful, and now I do it with Mother Earth and my critters. But yeah.
Thank you, Gina. Back to you, Aubrey.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing. I love this information so much. It like the more the more you dive into this information from just an intellectual information point of view, the more that you can kind of just recognize when things are happening, what is happening. And it becomes less about trying to sort it out and more about how to shift into and access this information and access yourself and just shift into something different. And it becomes easier and easier the more that you practice it. So thank you so much for being here and practicing with us, guys. Okay, so next I'm going to talk a little bit about how to do this and sort of the mechanics of how to be in flow state, because it's one thing to sit and talk about, oh yeah, universal flow is so great and being present, being in the now is, yeah, let's do it, you know, and it's another thing to actually practice it and do it. So I wanted to first kind of talk about the mechanics, so no surprise, of time and what now is, what is a now experience, what exactly, how do we kind of look at that? So what time really is, first of all, it's not linear. It's a big ball of stuff, energy, like we said, and what, like I said, and what time is a container for an experience. When you're having a present, being in a present moment, you can imagine time as having a toroidal field. And so when you are, I'm going to pull up, I'm going to screen share again really fast. So I think I have this image of this here. So there's some words on this, so you can ignore the words, but if you imagine an experience as the contained toroidal field of experience, then you can look at the past, your past experiences and your memories that are giving you context to your now as also contained experiences. And when you are, if you are in a present moment, but you're reliving a memory of something, you're actually being in that moment. You're bringing the energy of that moment into your present moment, and that's okay. That's part of how we navigate the universe. We have context for experiences. We have dreams for our future, and we navigate our world through toroidal fields. So to continue to navigate your time experiences, there it is. I like to use this example, this quote by Albert Einstein. It's put your hand on a hot stove for a minute and it seems like an hour. Sit with a pretty girl for an hour and it seems like a minute. And we're going to kind of explore why that is. And yeah, so say that for whatever reason you have your hand on a stove for a full 60 seconds. Perhaps you're stuck. Maybe you're in some sort of contest. I don't know why you would do that, but here we are. It's there. So because your hand is on that stove, you're going to be very forced into that moment. You want to either know how to get out. You're going to be experiencing pain. You're going to be assessing damage. You might be watching as that unfolds, but you will notice that in that time seems to expand around you. It feels a lot longer than a minute as you're moving through those things. And we see this, the clock stops ticking and you're brought into an infinite singularity point. The way that you're experiencing time is infinite. You could be in that moment for an infinite amount of time. You don't know because you are very in that moment. And we see this sometimes in movies when they show traumatic events. I don't know if everybody here has seen Doctor Strange, but at the very beginning of the movie, he is in a car accident. I have also been in a car accident. I don't know if you guys have as well, but time suddenly stretches out as this moment is happening. It slows down and you have a lot more time to think. Whereas if you are sitting with a pretty girl, this is again part of a longer class, so you can ignore the coordinate points part, but you might be thinking, you might be living outside of that moment. You might be thinking that you're nervous. You might be thinking that your breath smells. You might be really concerned about your behavior. You might be wondering if the moment is going to end, and all of these thoughts suddenly bring you outside of the present moment. And I find often when I'm teaching this information that even just talking about this makes your thoughts wander. So if your thoughts have just wandered, I'm just gonna bring y'all back really fast because I know that happens. And I also don't know what this image is. It's very beautiful, but so when we if you were aware of this process of like, you know, in this quote, we've got two options. We've got a very pleasant option that can kind of bring up some nervous energy, and we've got a very painful option. And there's obviously a lot more than those two options in our existence in humanity. We have actually infinite possibilities. So being in the now is about actually being in the experience that you're in. And you'll notice that when your hand is on the hot stove, a lot of what is happening that is focusing your energy into that point is noticing what's happening. You're not thinking about anything besides what is happening in that very, very, very moment. And the more that we do that in our day-to-day lives, the more that we can expand our time. We can, I have a very long class on time bending and the ability to actually shift timelines and the actual time that you are living in and expand it and compress it. And it is 100% about being integritous in your moment and being in your moment. And that's all I'm going to say about that. The last things in my notes about this is really just about like the benefits of remaining present. Like when you are in that moment and you are remaining present, you suddenly have a lot more time to ascertain whether or not you want to be in that moment, because you are actually in that moment. You now have the conscious ability to shift into a different moment if you would prefer. You are bringing your energy into the singularity point that is in your heart, that is a center of infinity, and you start getting access to your divine creator energy, and you start to be able to co-create with your higher self. You then gain access to your ability to shift your perspective in real time. If you are experiencing something you don't want to experience and feel not great about it, being actually in that moment and feeling those emotions and being present allows you the ability to then shift your perspective out of not enjoying your experience. You can shift your perspective into an experience of that very, very same moment that a second ago you weren't enjoying. You can now shift it into an experience that you are enjoying. So do we have any questions about any of that? I know that that's a lot of information that I kind of condense a whole bunch of things into one moment. And but yeah, are there questions?
Yeah, anybody have anything? You're right, Aubrey. I mean, there is about 10 workshops of information in about 10 minutes right there.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask real quick. You said when you're talking about being in the moment, did you say be in the moment with integrity?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
And
yeah.
What is your definition of integrity in that sense?
So, I mean, I have a bunch of slides on that, but
I'm sure.
So when I'm talking about integrity in this context, I mean being honest with yourself about your choice to be in a moment, being honest with your word about like an integritous moment is you're not hiding from yourself. You are in that moment, and you're very bald-faced about your choices to be in that moment. Hold on. No.
Integrity. Wow, what a great word to call it in, to be integrous.
Trying to think how you spell that. I don't even think I've heard it before.
Integrity?
No, integrous.
Oh, integritous.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can actually pull up my notes on integrity here for this.
Well, while you're looking for that, you know, one of the things I think about flow states and integrity and creativity, you know, I came from, 35 years of designing for great big show business. big productions of Sleeping Beauty for the ballet and opera and film and movies and storytelling and theater, where we have to create on demand in that world of show business, because the show opens on Friday and the curtain always goes out with all miracles in place. So there's this moment of being in that flow state of, oh my gosh, we don't have enough time, we don't have enough money, but we believe in magic. And magic occurs. And what's amazing to me in that world of show business is that although those people all say yes to an amazing dream together, and often don't even like each other, but the curtain still goes out. So there's some integrity with saying yes, we're showing up to do something. Now in our own creativity, like be that I'm going to sit down and write, or I'm going to paint, or I'm going to cook dinner, we can go into a flow state to say, oh, I love that. It's beautiful. Oh, I'm chasing light and joy and art. We can experience that flow state in smaller doses when we're attaching it to our creativity. But then we can also use that tool to apply it to our healing, or to manifesting, or to growing, or to changing our shape in a million ways. Just wanted to throw that little thought into our circle today around flow states. Show up all the time, and they show up in little ways, usually when you're being creative, imaginative, when you sit down with a blank sheet of paper and the 64 box of Crayola crayons with the sharpener in the back, and you make the first mark on that paper, and then you make the second mark because of the first mark, and then you fill in and you shape and dream, and the next thing you know, 2 hours went by and there's no more white on the page. What is that journey? That's what I'm talking about. Back to you, Aubrey. Did you find your slide?
I did. But to add to that, so one of my favorite flow states I have ever been in is actually fire spinning. So I was part of a group of people that we were all fire spinning a lot, and part of the benefit of actually practicing flow state with an element is you learn very, very fast. Like I know a great deal of fire spinners because I was into it, and it is so rare for them to actually get injured, because what happens is you dance with fire and you get kissed once, they call it a kiss, and then you learn. You don't do it again because you learn. And I just love flow state in a creative setting. That is the best way to access flow state, is through creativity and creative expression, and releasing the idea that things should be one way and not another.
Mm-hmm.
So I did find my slides on integrity. I have a lot more notes on a different thing, but here's some. So, and when I talk about integrity here, I'm kind of talking about the commitment into your moment. And here we can see this really illustratedly in the way that you interact with other people. So like there's a big difference between we should get together sometime versus what does your schedule look like. We should get together sometime. There are so many things around it. First of all, you're not actually trying to set an integritous moment. You're not setting a schedule for a moment. You're being amorphous, and you're not committing and being an integritous in your meaning in your life. Versus what does your schedule look like can determine whether or not that point of interaction and that point of now can actually should happen, and when, and setting that coordinate point for the interaction. And I apologize, and we can go deeper into integrity another time, because I do have, I started writing a book on this concept, so I've got like 3 pages of notes on it, but we're not going to go back.
Yeah, we could talk about that.
You answered my question perfectly with the comment, the commitment to the moment. That's perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
good.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've got about 10 minutes left of our time together today. And so what I would like to do is pass the feather around one more time. And if there's a moment when you know that you go into flow state and you would like to go again, or somewhere where you're practiced, or maybe where you want to be, let's talk a little bit about your experience with flow state. And I love to do this because we can see ourselves in each other's stories. Like, oh, I did that one time. Oh, me too. Or curious, I want to, when we hear and witness one another. So let's pass the feather around as we begin to close our circle of our time together. And whatever sparks about our conversation today, what ignited you or instigated some imagination or curiosity about what we're talking about today. And I'm just gonna, maybe I'll just go around the room as I see you. Julie, you're first this time, in my circle anyway.
Yeah, when you mentioned flow state, I just imagine of like when I kind of do flow yoga at night before going to bed, and I kind of release a lot of energy that's been going, and it all every day looks like a completely different thing of yoga. And also the same when I'm cooking or when I'm in a creative meeting with my business partners, or there was like another one. Oh, when I'm doing like my energy healing, that's just like tapping in, being in that moment, and then just somehow knowing what you're supposed to do next. It's just like a beautiful moment. It just like comes in.
Mhm. I love the knowing what you're supposed to do next. Yeah. I touch that a lot as a healer, an intuitive healer. It's like all of a sudden I know how to do things I was never trained in, and I do them well right then and there. You know, that
Yeah.
tapping into source. Yeah, thank you, Julie. Beautiful. Danielle.
I mean, at this stage in my life, I've been lucky to be self-employed fully for the last 10 years, and I've really tried to cultivate only spending my time doing activities that bring me enough joy to want to stay present the whole time. That's not saying I'm good at it. I think it's our nature as humans to be distracted, or maybe not our nature, but the nature of the society that we've created. And so it's tough for me to answer that question of what really drops me into that presence, because it's everything that I surround myself with when I allow it. But what I really like about this conversation of living an integrous life is I've always defined integrity as a number of things. It's a really important concept for me, but I think of it often in terms of like living what I talk about and making sure that I'm in alignment with the beliefs that I have. And I love adding to the definition to be willing to be fully present with what I choose for my time. I think oftentimes we're obligated in certain directions that don't always resonate fully with the boundaries we need to hold for our health. Or, a great example for myself is time with my parents. I love them. They're amazing humans. And also they exhaust me and it takes a toll on my battery, and I have to really pick and choose. And it's not always in full alignment for me to spend time with them, but the secondary gains outweigh that. And so living an integrous life in that moment is falling fully into the blessings that are available in that decision. And just being in love with having made that decision, instead of being an angsty teenager that's like, oh, I have to go fucking hang out with my mom and listen to her talk about politics all day.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Danielle, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think we can all relate to the I love my parents, but they drive me crazy, or whichever close one in our family does that to us. I love you, but whoa, no, whoa. Yeah, I have that too. Gina, say hi. Hi, love.
Sorry, I had to mute because my cat Amy loves to come in screaming at me.
She's welcome.
No, you would have gotten really tired of that screaming if I had not muted. But as we had this last discussion, it brought up a memory of just a couple of weeks ago. I was out gardening. I have an acre and a half here in the high desert, and it has a lot of fire ants, of which I got one in between my toes while I was in the middle of doing stuff. Oh, yeah. I'm also a retired nurse, so I have a lot of experience with pain and pain management. And I had gotten bit before, and I was just like, I don't want to have to stop and go in and spray chlorine dioxide on it or put essential oils on. I have too much to do. I'm going to just feel the pain. And it was really interesting because I just isolated it right there in the toe instead of let it take over my whole being of being in pain. And I watched myself do that and went, that's really interesting. You know, just to be able to not get overwhelmed by, because it hurt. There's no getting around it. It hurt. But I didn't let it take over myself. It was very interesting.
Mhm.
And actually, by the time I got in and sprayed some chlorine dioxide on it, because it just ached a little by then, I never even noticed it after that.
Wow.
So it didn't let the whole adrenaline cycle, and I've been out of nursing now for too long. I can't remember all the words, and I really don't want to because that was a long ago, far away. But
Right.
anyway, it was very interesting.
Well, thank you, Gina.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's pass the feather to Chris.
So I've been sitting with this idea for several months now about just eternity is basically the moment you're living in. And I really appreciated early on in some of our meetings the diagram, Aubrey, that you had of the infinity sign, and it passes through your heart. And the intersection of the past and the future is the present moment. And so I've been really trying to understand that concept and try to live that and understand what it means. If that's all you have, that moment in time, that is the definition of eternity. And so I appreciate the little lesson today on being in the moment, what that means, and the commitment to that moment. It's helped me gain a little perspective on that I want to explore some more and think about and have some more moments and take those into consideration. So I've really enjoyed that. It's something that I've been practicing, and now I'm hearing it from you guys. So thank you.
Right on. Thank you, man. Thank you. Susie, pass the feather to you.
Well, I am really excited. I'm always excited about everything, but I'm especially excited because of this flow that we're talking about. I think I'm about to put some in that lake behind me. Okay, so I'm just going to explain. Gina sent this.
Susie,
I got to. Okay, because it's all about flow. I have some special water. It's very high frequency. And what I want to do is I want to spread the high frequency flow into that water back there. And it's Lake Huron. I'm just going to spread it out, and it's just going to spread everywhere because I think part of this flow is raising our frequency. And how do you do that? Just by doing crazy things like this. Why not? And Gina, can you just explain exactly what I'm supposed to do and exactly how that works to touch those water spirits and how that moves the frequency out into the greater body of water, please?
well, besides being a retired nurse and all of that, I'm also a dowser. I've been dowsing for about 40 years now. And when I first started, I also, through my dowsing, started learning how to make elixirs. And through the years, I am a vibrational alchemist. And I now have a room that I call a pharmacy. I can actually, and I also have an aspect of myself that's on another planet, in another universe, that has a storeroom of frequencies and things from all over galaxies and stuff that are primarily, we have the connection to help the earth move through this ascension process. I've come back many times wanting to have this happen, and I'm finally here for this one. Anyway, so one day when I started doing sessions with these with Aubrey and Susie and Arlene, who hasn't joined us yet. But I got one day that I was to make an elixir wanted to come through to work with the water, and I was to send it out to them to put drops of the frequency that was coming through in a bowl of distilled water that I then put into little bottles for them to put in water in their areas. It was also when we had done a class and had a Telegram channel where one of the girls was from Hong Kong, the Netherlands, Maine. So it was like it went all over the world, and they're putting that frequency in the waters. I really haven't tuned in and to know exactly what the frequency is doing other than raising the vibration, but my guides, angels, everyone wanted that to happen. So thank you, Susie.
Yep.
She's gone. I guess off to do it now.
She jumped off.
She's
Thank you for
so
that
great.
explanation, Gina.
But
Well,
that's what all that's about.
Well, we are at the end of our time together, and I know that we've got time commitments. Our lunch break is over. We've got very busy lives. I put the link to join us in the chat there. If you know anyone else that you think might enjoy a Wednesday conversation with us, feel free to pass this out to your loved ones. We would love to have some more folks join us on our new adventure that Aubrey and I are doing. Aubrey, any last thoughts before we wrap it up for today?
I don't think so. I just really appreciate that you all joined us today. I just love this stuff.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Well, everybody, Aubrey and I, we've got some designs for the future. Of course, we want to do some more things, and this is just our outreach to the world to build a community and to circle the wagons and to start sharing some wisdom and insights, because we are more powerful together than we'll ever be standing alone. And then in the meantime, I wish you all the very best of the rest of your week, and I hope to see you next week right here with us. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you both.